Andy Johnson, we are looking at educational research as it pertains to literacy. Understand up front, our beliefs determine what we perceive and what we see and perceive more than the data or the stimuli. That's true whether we're reading text, whether we are viewing things out there in reality, or whether we are looking at or analyzing research. Our paradigms, philosophical, theoretical framework from which reality is viewed, determined in educational research the questions that get asked, the data that get collected, how the data are analyzed, and how that data are interpreted. Get rid of the idea that there is such a thing as totally objective research. It does not exist. Subjectivity is determined simply by the questions that get asked, the data that are collected, etc., etc. In reading and in research, human beings tend to believe what they see more than see what they believe. Our beliefs about the nature of reality make it difficult to accept a different view. Now, in looking at research, there's no such thing as the research. There's a tendency for people to sometimes say, the research shows that, and then they would put in whatever they believe. Be very wary of that. There's no book that contains the research. There's no canon. There's no research Bible. As well, there are no magical one-size-fits-all research-based programs for reading, for literacy, for anything. There are no super secret reading strategies, super secret strategies for teaching literacy. One size of instruction does not fit all. There are, however, a series of research-based strategies that must be flexibly applied as the situation calls for. Now, different strategies are effective for different purposes, for different students in different situations. It depends upon how it should be used. So the idea that direct instruction is the most effective strategy to use, get rid of that. It is a strategy, not a method. And as a strategy, it is effective for certain things at certain times for certain students, but it should never, like any strategy, be used as a method, be used as an approach all the time for all students. As well, students are not standardized products. What works for some students in some situations doesn't work for all students in all situations. Now, some observations about reading research from a special education perspective versus a literacy perspective. And I spent the summer looking at research related to students with learning disabilities and developmental cognitive disabilities. Now, most of the research in special education I have found is based on the phonological model, based on the idea that reading is simply sounding out words. So researchers using this model ask the question, well, what kinds of things enable students to sound out words better? And again, you see what you believe. You don't often believe what you see. So the question was, how can you teach students to sound out words better? How do you measure sounding out words? And then with that beginning basis, of course, the conclusions were all related to sounding out words. The data were interpreted based on the idea that reading is sounding out words. And reading is not sounding out words. It is creating meaning with print. So when I examined and I looked at many studies, there are some methodological concerns. And when someone says the research says, you should always say, well, what research exactly? Show me the study, and then we need to look at the actual study. All research is not the same. Research never proves anything. One study doesn't prove anything. And research is not used to prove something, it disproves a hypothesis. So research presents simply a bit of data. And all these data dots are put together to create a theory or a theoretical dot-to-dot picture. Now, different data dots connect, different theories connect the different data dots differently. That's why you can have different theories, all are which a little bit right based on research, but coming to different conclusions. We'll be looking at some eye movement in the next series.